The world around us is constantly changing. That is precisely why I wanted to make the move, to be able to see as much of it as I can. I bought a van, converted it into my home on wheels, and hit the road. Now, I am inviting you to join me, where you can follow me along on my hippie adventures.
Hey everybody, I decided that today I was going to take some time to work on the roof vent. It's been kind of crappy weather here in Florida for the last week or so. The forecast was supposed to not rain today, but clouds might be saying otherwise. So I'm hoping that we can get this done before the skies start to open up. So, let's get this started.
So the other day I decided that I was going to attempt to do an outline of the roof vent on my own, and it didn't work out so well. I realized it was crooked, so I decided that I was going to grab some painter's tape and tape it up there to help me out, give me a better guide. That way I can get a nice clean cut when I do the install. So here I am basically just tracing around the interior of where the roof vent is going to be. That way I am able to get a decent outline of where the roof vent will be when it's placed in the van. What I will eventually do is drill a few pilot holes from the interior of the van out to the exterior. That way when I go to the roof of the van, I can see where exactly it is that I need to make the cuts. And you'll see that later on in the video where I will take this actual same piece and put it on the four corners of the pilot holes, and I will be able to get a decent estimate as to where this needs to go to be cut to install the roof vent. Here you saw me remove that interior piece of the vent so that I can actually start drilling the pilot holes. You'll be seeing that here momentarily. This right here is just me giving basic safety protocols, basically saying do as I say, not as I do. I really should have been wearing safety glasses while doing this because I was dealing with potential shards of metal flying around. I didn't put them on. I do have glasses that I wear. It was not exactly the greatest idea, but I recommend wearing glasses so that if there is a shard of metal that goes flying, it doesn't poke your eye. This right here is the point that I realized that I had left things on the roof and I needed to go move them so that I didn't drill a hole through them. That's why you see that weird little face that I make. Alrighty, now we're back in action. We can get drilling again now that I've moved the things off to the side so that there wouldn't be drill holes in them. Okay, so I decided that I would edit out a decent little chunk of the raw footage that I have, because you don't really need to see me drilling 4 holes. You can kind of get the idea that I drilled 4 holes based on the fact that I told you that I drilled 4 holes. And you'll actually see them when we go up to the roof as well. Alright, so now that we're on the roof, what I am going to do is take the tape and try to basically connect the dots. So you can see the 4 holes that I drilled, and I will just tape along so that there is a general idea of this is how big this hole needs to be in order for the roof vent to fit. I will have to do a little bit of adjusting, but you will see that throughout the video. I would like to note that wearing a white shirt in the Florida sun is wonderful. However, if you do plan on doing this job, just use an older shirt, whether it's white or any other color. It does get really dirty. You will get really sweaty, especially if it's hot out. It's starting to get into the summer months, so when I took my shirt off when I got inside after completing the project, it was covered in nastiness, and it was basically stuck to me because I sweat so much. Now what you're seeing me do right here is basically what I did on the inside. I am tracing the interior of the roof vent part. Now this is actually going to be a little bit too small of a hole, but I like to decide to cut it smaller first and then adjust larger, because you can't put metal back. Just like a haircut, when you're getting your hair cut, always cut it long, because you can always cut it shorter. You can't put hair back on. It's kind of the similar concept. You want to make sure that your hole is just barely big enough to fit your vent in. So I decided that I would use the interior of this particular piece, even though I would actually need the exterior dimension of a different piece. But this one was probably just easiest to utilize, and we went from there. So in this portion of the video, you are probably going to see the camera move around a little bit. There's going to be portions that I have to edit out because I didn't immediately tape down the tripod, but while the camera was on the roof, the vibrations from the Dremel tool was shaking it, and it went all over the place. So if you see some jumps in the video, that's why I basically just cut out portions of the video where the camera wasn't pointed directly at where I was cutting. Another note I will say, while cutting this, the best way to do it, in my opinion, was to take the line that I drew and score it first. Once I scored, it gave me a little bit of a gap to be able to sit in that little trench that I dug out and cut with the Dremel tool. Prior to doing that score, I was just trying to follow that line, and it was really difficult. I had a very hard time doing that. So if I were to recommend a pro tip to someone that is installing a vent, definitely score the roof before you to actually try to make the cuts. It will make your life a million times easier. This right here should be where I had already taped down the tripod, because as you saw, it quickly rotated over to the left, and soon you weren't looking at where I was cutting. But I rotated it back and I put some tape down to hold it in place. Hopefully that will stabilize it some as well, so that the video isn't shaky. Now this right here is just me letting the camera know that I took a break to go fill up my water. Didn't really need to include that in there, but I decided I would anyway. So I guess this is just going to be me continuing to cut the hole, and I will probably try to speed up the pace of the video, because you don't need to be sitting here for 20 minutes watching me cut a hole in the roof. You, I'm sure, would much rather watch the installation and everything beyond cutting the hole. So you're going to see this jump around a little bit, but you'll notice that under the vent there's actually some black paint. That is actually rust preventative paint. I put that in there in the event that water does get in there, that it doesn't rust the metal. This roof vent is actually going right above a shower in my van, so there will be moisture that is around, so I just want to try and prevent that from rusting out. So I did that, and then instead of placing the little putty that they give you for the roof vent around the actual hole, I decided that I was going to place it on the roof vent itself, and then put the roof vent in place, and then screw the screws into the roof. And that's what you can see me doing here, finishing up the install of the roof vent. I haven't done the electrical for the vent yet, or the van in general. That will be coming later on. I'm probably not going to show you a ton of the electrical, just because I don't want to be held liable for telling you wrong things and having you design your van the way I've designed my van. It's just a safety measure. I am comfortable in my ability to do electrical work, but I am not a professional whatsoever, so I would encourage you to reach out to a professional if you have questions on that. Or there are some excellent YouTube videos that you can find. This portion right here is where a screw doesn't seem to want to go in, so I went and grabbed my hammer to give it a couple little taps to get it started, so that it could grip the metal and try and screw into the metal. After having installed the roof vent, I really wish prior to doing such, I would have taken the plastic rain cover off the top of it before I started installing. It just made it a lot more difficult to work around. So I think if I were to do it again, I probably would remove that top cover, just so that it's a lot easier to get in to screw in the screws. It wasn't too terribly difficult, but it did kind of get in the way a little bit, especially toward the front of the vent where it actually hinges up. Once I complete getting all of the screws in, I do go around the perimeter of the roof vent with a roofing caulk. You won't be able to see that on this, but if you go and follow me on Instagram at the same name, it's _hippie_nomad, you will be able to see some photos of that. I wasn't able to get it recorded because my camera did die, but I did take a couple photos with my cell phone, so I did upload those to Instagram. Thanks for joining me on my journey. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can be notified anytime I upload.